I'm just letting everybody join us, letting everybody get logged in. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot.
Great to be with you.
Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Patty and everyone.
Oh, we have some things we definitely need to talk about today, you guys. This is important stuff going on, okay? So I'm getting everybody logged on. Want to make sure everybody's here. I am going to make this a short meeting today, if at all possible, for the mere simple fact that I have business I need to do today. You guys are going to laugh at me. In Lake Isabella. So when we're done talking, I'm getting in my little car and driving my little heart out for 3.5 hours. Okay. Should be fun. Forgive me. I know I got my hair up in a messy bun on the top of my head. It's one of those kind of cold, wintry days where I'm at. So, ta-da. Does anybody have anything they desperately want to talk about? If not, I'm going to get to what I desperately want to talk to you guys about, just so I make sure I get that right out of here. People are saying hello, hello. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I was on here and I was telling you guys about the tenant advocate groups, remember? And I was telling you guys, watch out for them. This is what they're doing now. This is how they're working with the tenant attorneys. This is what they're doing. So I actually had to sit down with a couple of attorneys who are now going back and looking at the law, having a talk among themselves, because they don't know if they challenge the answer. So they're powwowing now. I planted a seed, everybody, on what the tenant advocates or groups are doing to basically hand these cases over to BASTA so they can just sub in and get some of the money. It's ludicrous. Ludicrous. Okay. But now there's something else going on. And I'm going to have to look at notes on my phone, which is going to suck. But bear with me, okay? I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. However, you need to know this. Fair Housing has changed their name. Okay. Hang on a second so I can find the information in its entirety. Fair Housing has changed their name from the Department of Fair Housing and Employment to the Department of Civil Rights. Everybody got that? The Department of Fair Housing and Employment has changed their name to the Department of Civil Rights. I'm not joking. How do I know this? Because one of our members got a letter from the Department of Civil Rights, formerly known as the Department of Fair Housing and Employment. Hold on. Buckle up. This is fun. What do you mean you got a letter from Fair Housing and they've changed their name and now they're the Department of Civil Rights? I almost want to go get you the notes because she gave me full authority to disclose anything I wanted to in regards to this matter. Give me 2 seconds, you guys. I'm gonna grab my notes, okay? Because we're in attack mode, just so you know. Okay. Hold on, you guys, I'm trying to add people. Sorry, I'm back. I have my notes. I'm trying to add these people. You guys, we're talking about what's going on right now with the Department of Fair Housing. Remember I said that they were back in business and coming at us in full force. So be prepared. Make sure you're listening to their stuff that's going on. I'm going to tell all of you to take a class in April. I'm going to tell you to brush up again in November. Make sure you get certifications on both of those. This isn't a joke. Pay attention. I may ask questions later. The Department of Fair Housing and Employment has changed their name to the Department of Civil Rights. An applicant went to look at a property. This property, and please envision this as I try to describe this to you, is a triplex. The unit in the front is the one that's available. Okay, pay attention. In the front of that property, there is a gate and a fence that goes along the property line. Key words there, the property line. This fence then continues down the back of the property line, down all 3 units, and then comes out across the back of the property line and up the edge of the driveway. Okay? The applicant makes mention to the property manager, "Oh, I'm so glad this has a fenced yard." The property manager immediately corrects her and says, "This is not fenced. This is open common area for the other units." She said, "Maybe I should have the owner remove the gate so that it doesn't give the impression that it's individually fenced, because it is not. This is common area and it's all open to the whole community and it's not contained in any way. You could just walk through the back of the properties, come across the back of the property, and exit through the garage. It is not a source of containment." And the applicant said to the property manager, "I'm asking for a request for reasonable accommodations. I have disabled children and I'm demanding that the gate stay." Okay, fine, the gate can stay, but you need to know that this unit isn't fenced. This is common area and it's open. Okay, the property line is fenced, but the unit itself is not. Okay, everybody got that? The relationship continues. The applicant actually applies for the property. The applicant asks if the property manager accepts third-party payments. Property manager says, "Yes, we do accept third-party payments." Pause. I'm trying to find out if that's a requirement for only existing tenants so that they're not evicted, or if we're required to take a third-party payment at hello. I don't believe we are required to take a third-party payment at hello, but we are required to take a third-party payment during tenancy so that they don't become homeless. Okay? So I have an attorney looking at that right now. Bear with me. That's just a widget side note, okay? She approves the applicant. The applicant has a third party. This program, whatever it is, it's not Section 8, it's not VASH, it is not federally funded. That is also a key in the whole equation. Everybody playing along? Okay. She applies, she's approved. The third party pays their first month's rent and half of the deposit. The property manager says, "I can't move you in until I have all the funds. I can't even deposit this until I receive all the funds. We don't accept incomplete funds." Okay? I can't move you in without the full amount of the deposit. There's a key here, okay? Can't move you in without the full amount of the move-in funds. The tenant then tells her, I'm sorry, not the tenant, because we don't have a tenancy here, we have an applicant. The applicant then says she has another program that's going to pay the other half of the deposit. to go ahead and cash those checks and give her the keys so she can move in. And the property manager, God love her, stands her ground and says, I'm sorry, I can't deposit the funds. I don't have the full amount. I can't move you in because I don't have the full amount. We're in a holding pattern at this point. So, property manager then says, okay, I'll wait for the other program to pay. We'll give you additional time. As per the criteria, they must pay the holding deposit within 72 hours. Mind you, the holding deposit still hasn't been paid, okay? The applicant then gets a call the following week. I don't have anything yet. I haven't received anything. What's going on? And she repeats herself, just cash the check already, you stupid witch, with a B word, okay? Or I'm going to make this difficult for you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to violate company policy because you're threatening me that you're going to make this difficult for me. I have to do my job if I want to keep my job. But thank you so much for the insult this time of morning. I really appreciate it. Blah, blah is how the conversation went. After 30 days of no more communication from the tenant and calling only the original program that provided half of the deposit and first month's rent, the worker said if they didn't pay the other half, it's been 30 days. Go ahead and cancel it. Property manager was going to cancel anyway and sent them both a formal letter that it's being canceled because payment wasn't received in full. Okay, guys all playing along? Now, property manager gets a letter from formerly the Department of Fair Housing and Fair Employment, now known as the Department of Civil Rights. This is why I'm trying to wake you guys up. The Department of Civil Rights. Got it? She is saying that she put in a request for reasonable accommodations to have the gate stay and that the property manager failed to accommodate her request based on her children's disability. Bullshit. In every language I could possibly say it, even sign language, the gate is still erect and functioning on the premises as we speak. Today, it was never removed. But thank you for playing the game. Before we can respond to fair housing, because we get this letter and find out 3 days before Thanksgiving that it's due 1 day before Thanksgiving. So we immediately ask for extension because we didn't receive the letter timely. Hang on, I dropped my pen, and if I don't go get it, my cats are going to go ape. Hold on. Wouldn't receive the letter timely. So we asked for an extension in writing, okay? Because they swooped us. So we asked for an extension in writing. We received the extension in writing. Immediately, we were met after we received the extension in writing with the demand to settle out of court. And the applicant's demands were to settle out of court for $10,000, which was non-negotiable, and an apology letter from the property manager. I hope all of you are picking up your jaw right now. Wait a minute. They didn't even hear my side of the story and they want to take a $10,000 settle out of court payment from something that never even happened? It's still erect to this day. We did not remove it from the property. Y'all paying attention? It gets worse. It gets worse. Want to hear my response? Here's my response thus far. No joke. Let me know if you guys are still there, because everybody's real quiet. Nobody's saying nothing. I'm like, are you guys, is this thing on? Are you still out there? Did I lose signal? Are you guys still picking up your jaws? I mean, hello? Are you out there? Okay, you are out there. Okay, you can't hear me. I'm not talking to myself. It's the shock of it. No words. It gets worse, Melanie. Here's my response. And I am jabbing back. Okay. So far, they've received an email back. Wait, you want $10,000 to settle this out of court and you haven't even heard my side of the story yet? How much of the $10,000 that the applicant is asking for does the applicant actually get to keep? That was our question back to the authority. Okay, no response. We're asking, hey, we want to know. You're a governmental agency at this point. You have to give full disclosure, but you didn't respond to my question. Here's the response. In response to your letter, we're dated in which we asked for an extension due to the holiday date when we actually received the letter. So I'm going by when they said they sent it, when they actually emailed us a copy also, which was 18 days later before we received the email, and that's instantaneous. So who dropped the ball there? So I'm addressing that, okay? And I also want to acknowledge in writing that we have an extension. I appreciated the settlement offer for a non-negotiable $10,000 and an apology from the property manager, and realized in that moment that we must have a system in place through the government to make sure someone doesn't try to make a living from filing frivolous claims, as even the police make it a crime to file false report. Also, I am fairly concerned that the new name change means changes in equality and fairness, which is what your organization has thrived on in the past. You haven't even heard our side of the story, and I'm being asked to pay $10,000 and write an apology for something that never happened. The gate is still intact as of today. The applicant is correct with only part of her story. There are some details that are missing from the story, so I will fill in the gaps to add some clarity. Yes, she viewed the property and made mention of the fenced yard. I pointed out that this is a common area leading to all 3 units and was not a private area. I mentioned that I should have the owner remove the gate so no one gets the wrong impression. That's when she said the gate must stay. I have disabled children. Okay, it can stay, no problem. Please note, it's not private, it is a common area. The gate is still in place today. I reiterate, no further mention of the gate went on at all past this point. She then applied, her application was approved. A third party that was not federally funded was offering to assist with payments for her. They issued a check for the first month's rent and half of the deposit. In quotations, the standard operating process and procedure for this program has ran this way in the past as well. The applicant usually is required to pay the other half of the deposit. End of quotation. I contacted the applicant stating that I cannot accept it as it's not the full amount of the deposit and I needed the additional funds before she could schedule a move-in. She had to pay the full amount of the deposit to move in. She then just bellowed to me to cash the check already, you stupid bee, or you're going to pay for this. I continued to contact her with no avail. After 30 days of not getting the full amount of the deposit, I contacted the program worker that said to cancel the contract. Her name is blank. Her phone number is blank. Please see attached of our copied cancellation letters. I even gave her additional time to obtain the funds before canceling. Our operating process and procedure is to receive the deposit within 72 hours. Please take note, I've waited 30 days. The owner has lost time and rent money due to this applicant not fulfilling her obligations. Because you've changed your name, does that mean I can now file for my losses? I'm so sorry that this person is so bitter, and I reassure you it was nothing in regards to the gate. I have all the supporting documentation, timeline, phone log, chain of events. In the event that this is pursued any further, I'd be more than happy for my legal counsel to provide that information to the judge if need be. Thank you so much for your time. Comments? I have not sent the response yet. It is brewing in my brain, but that's what's about to come out.
You go, girl.
This is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. And on the other hand, do I hand this to the owner and tell them, hey, send this to your errors and omissions insurance? Now tenants are threatening that they're going to make our lives miserable if we don't do it. Julia, I want to tell you, because everybody wants to know right now, where did this happen, Patty? Where is this going on? The city of Lancaster, LA County.
Wow.
You want to know the real screwed up thing? I can have an attorney write the response letter for her. Guess how much?
$1,000.
Try 2. So anybody else have?
Now, when she said that she's got these other people who are going to pay the other portions, she didn't name them. You have the prospective landlord.
At the end of the day,
it
it doesn't matter because they never paid it.
No, I understand.
We waited 30 days.
But can you ask who it is?
I'm aware of who it is.
If it's a individual,
it's not an individual, it's another department.
Right, but if it is an individual, you can do it's like a guarantor or something. Can you do a check on them or no? You know what I'm saying? To see if they qualify to be able to provide those funds, because it's security deposit, not rent.
What I'm trying to find out is if we are required to take third-party funds to establish tenancy from someone that's not federally funded. That would eliminate us having to deal with these bullshit tenant placement agencies like Brilliant Corners. You want me to keep talking? Or are you guys paying attention? Because they're all BS. Every single one of them is taking somebody that's on the verge of or already homeless that they have been paying to live in hotels, and they're putting them in your property because it's less expensive than continuing whatever program they're on. Make sense? So what I want to find out is, can we stop these third-party programs, third-party payments from these programs that aren't federally funded? Brilliant Corners is not federally funded. You are not required by law to participate. You are not required to give them a less than standard application. Understand? Only required to do that for something that's federally funded. It's a federal law, not a state law. Not yet. Okay. Any more questions?
What is that program? I'm not familiar with that.
Which program?
That you just mentioned, this
VASH?
Bright. No, Bright.
Brilliant Corners?
Yeah.
Let me backtrack just a little bit. Yes, David. Yes. Yes, David, I agree with you. All these demands are only based on the simple fact, let's sue now for sure, and we get some easy money because the cost of defending is much more. I'm just writing a letter to Fair Housing saying this isn't even fair. You're asking me for settlement money and you haven't even heard my side of the story yet. How unfair is that? Don't you want to know that I want $10,000 for my time, my loss? This property was taken off the market for 30 days while we waited for her. The owner has obtained much more loss than she ever could, considering that the gate's still erect and fully functionable on the premises as we speak. It's bullshit. It's got my blood boiling. But wait a minute. This is where Patty says, haven't you heard Patty say, how much money are we going to spend to prove that we're right? I will keep you all abreast as how this comes out, okay? So far, this is how the response letter's going. And it is coming out bitter and it is coming out angry, but this is frivolous. This is a waste of our tax-paying dollars. I'm going to add that in there. What a waste of our tax-paying dollars. To cause a complete stop and investigation and settlement over something that is still physically on the premises.
The law is so unfair, the way they adjudicate these things.
No, the law is fair. Hold on, the law's there, but why are they challenging me? Why are they asking me for money before they've even heard my side of the story? Because as the law sits, I requested her accommodation, didn't ask the owner to remove the gate, and the gate's still in on the premises, erect and functionable.
So because they don't even want to hear about that. They just want to come to a number settlement,
That's
settlement.
why I asked them in writing, how much of this money does the applicant actually receive? Because are you taking 33.33%? Because now you came, now I have other issues.
So aren't they supposed to check all the facts before they write a letter to this property management?
Ask me the question again.
Aren't they supposed to check facts?
What kind of facts? What are you
That the
asking?
gate is there.
No, they're writing me a letter to ask me my side of the story. And within 10 days of me acknowledging that I received that letter, they're asking me to settle for $10,000. I haven't even told them that I didn't do anything wrong and that gate is still erect on the premises as we speak.
No,
And they're asking me to pay them. And I asked them point blankly, how much of that money does the applicant actually receive? They have not responded.
I hear your side, but normally what I'm thinking of is that you need to facts, clear facts before you respond, before you attack, the management, the property and the manager.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
Attacked.
Exactly.
Where is that fair? Where is that equality? Equal. That's what fair housing wants. Equal opportunity for all. That isn't fair or equal.
That sounds like the system I came from.
And by changing their name, did they change the way they do business? Are they now going to be taking frivolous? My response letter explains it all. Are they now going to let people just go apply and make frivolous lawsuits to try to get 10 grand from us? How many other people has this twat done this to? Sorry, don't mean to use foul language, but it's got my blood boiling because it's bullshit. It's another way for them to mess with us little mom and pops. And let me tell you, this isn't happening to corporate America, okay? This is happening to the smaller management companies. You're the target right now. You're the ones being challenged and secret shopped, and they want to make sure you're following all fair housing rules and process and procedure and all of that. You are now the target. You and the little mom and pop. Got it? Something else you need to know. I'm going to write this response letter. They demanded it come timely. Do you know they're going to then send me a letter saying that they're reviewing our facts and it could take up to 12 months to get a response? How's your anxiety?
You need to write an article for the Agla magazine.
I don't know that I could do that and filter enough of my own personal opinion out of this.
Mm-hmm.
We need to organize and have a movement. just like they do.
We need to have a candlelit visual for the for the loss of our rights as Americans.
That's it. That's it.
We need to that's what we need to do. I'm going to tell Agla we need to hold a candlelight visual for the loss of our rights as Americans, because fair housing has failed us as landlords. They have failed us. Fairness and equality. That's what they thrive on. They've thrived on that since it was enacted in 1978. Well, you want me to throw more facts at you? It was all established because of the Unruh Civil Rights Act. So it makes sense that they call it the Department of Civil Rights, but now it sounds even more scary than fair housing and employment. Jesus. And I wonder, by changing their name and their department, did they change their code of ethics and what they stand for? Because so far, I'm throwing up in my mouth. Okay, I didn't mean to ruin everybody's day. I'm just trying to make you aware of what is going on and be very cautious. Oh, you have a disability? Okay, did you want to submit a request for reasonable accommodations? Try to get it from them in writing. It's not a requirement. They can give it to you verbally, okay? If you have questions about any of that kind of stuff, call me immediately. Tell them, excuse me, one moment, let me call my partner. You don't have to ask them who I am and say, hey, I'm at the property. Sorry, I feel like I'm being choked by my... Sorry, I'm being choked by the strings on the hoodie I'm wearing, and it's... I fixed it though. Did you see that? Look at us all MacGyvering things. I just want everybody to know to be cautious with the Department of Civil Rights.
Patty, was that from state or federal?
Was what?
The letter. Is it from
That's
the
a federal
California Civil Rights?
agency. It's
But I'm looking it up now, and there's the Civil Rights Division, U.S. Department of Justice, which is federal, but they also have one that says it's California.
Hold on. Inbox. Hold on. Just bear with me because I'm going to pull up the email from them. Just hang on. It's not that one. It's this one. Confidential action requested. Department of Civil Rights, calcivilrights.ca.gov, formerly Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it says housing discrimination, employment discrimination, sexual harassment.
But where is their fairness or equality?
Yeah.
So now what we need to do is look up about, see, look, I got everybody. I'm all about fairness and I'm all about equal and playing even Steven. I'm always telling you guys, if you do for one, you got to do for all. In fact, we just had a conversation last week about changing our criteria. When an applicant meets lower than that and the landlord wants to rent to them, we need to deny them first. Before we allow them to rent at their lower criteria, otherwise we could be trying to cause a problem. To protect us during the application, should we record our conversation with the applicants? It's going to have to be with their consent if you want to use it in court. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to let you know it doesn't matter. Here's the reality. The reason why the property manager won't take all the money and let them move in and only take a portion of it is because if you take a portion of it, you agree to rent to them. You accept money, you have a binding contract. Following along? If you don't accept it because it's not the full amount of the move-in funds, then that keeps you safe. If you now know this is the tactic of those programs, you now know that. We don't move in someone without all the security deposit. It's a way for you to stand your ground. You're not required by law to do that. That is part of your operating procedure. Julia, I love you. I meant to come by there on Friday and drop off your bag, and I didn't because I was almost late to the AGLA event because I couldn't get my hair to curl because we had so much moisture in the air. Don't ask. And then Thursday, Saturday, I was at an ugly Christmas pajama sweater party. And then Sunday, I had to go to an office Christmas party. I get invited to those this time of year. It's lots of fun. I actually got an award. Yay. But I meant to bring that to you. I was just going to drop it off and then it didn't happen. So I will put that in the mail tomorrow. Being that you mentioned anxiety, it can potentially take 12 months. What do you personally do when it's just hanging over your head for that long? Let me explain something to you. It's part of what they do. And I don't mean to be a jerk, but hear me out, okay? Remember I worked in a law firm? I'm going to share a story with you guys, and I'm not going to include any names, okay? In the complaint, it wasn't just the tenant said this happened. They had an email and it was attached, okay? And here's what it said. And Julia, this is where you're going to squeeze your cheeks and go, they can't do that, okay? I know, but this is what the email said. This is in regards to an emotional support animal, and there's an email chain going on between the tenant because they live on the premises. No. The applicant, they didn't live on the premises. Correct. They didn't live on the premises. It was an applicant. So she goes on to say, I have a dog. And he says, you'll have to pay an additional deposit and fill out additional paperwork. And she says, it's an emotional support animal. And he responds, what do you need an emotional support animal for anyway? And she responds to answer dumb questions like that. Can you ask them why they need an emotional support animal? Or is it a violation of law? Anybody?
Violation.
No.
Violation
you
of
cannot
law.
ask.
You cannot ask them why they need an emotional support animal. What are they going to tell you? Because my ex-husband's crazy and I want to kill people? You cannot ask them why they need an emotional support animal. You cannot ask them why they are disabled. Okay? You cannot. You can say, oh, I had no idea that you were disabled. There's nothing wrong with that statement. It's actually a compliment. I had no idea you were disabled. Ah, see how that worked? Throw it back at them. Cool.
So are you
So,
allowed to try to rent?
You cannot ask them why they need an emotional support animal. Okay, does everybody understand that? Then they are disclosing to you what their mental problem is. And an emotional support animal comes with a mental disability. It could be loneliness. It could be a senior that wants to hold those fake babies. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so don't beat it down, but just know that's what it's about. Okay? You can't ask. He asked in writing. They included it in the complaint. He hired the law firm that I worked for to write the response letter. I pointed out to the paralegal and the attorney that that's a violation of fair housing law. They can't ask that. That's not right. They both argued with me. That's not what the law says. And this is an independent landlord. This is a sales agent that did this. They are a licensed real estate agent. Okay? 4 months go by and they send me an email asking me if we responded to them. I said, yes, we sent you a copy of the response, blah, blah, blah. they said, okay, well, we just got this letter saying that they were in receipt of our response and they let us know their findings. And that's when I let them know, because I'll let all of you know something I know about that portion of the legal process right now. When you call Fair Housing or Civil Rights Department now, it is the way they are structured and the way that this works. This immediately becomes a fair housing complaint, okay? After 12 months of it going nowhere or not being resolved, they then need to make a decision whether they are going to file on it or dismiss it, okay? And if it's bad, they're already working the case, gaining their evidence, doing their thing. You have a lot more communication coming at you, okay? If it's not bad, no news is good news, okay? At the 12th month mark, we got a letter saying that they've dismissed and removed it from their system. Thank you very much and have a nice day. It's just the way they work. I will tell you this, if they are planning on gearing up for a lawsuit, there's a lot more communication coming at you. And you don't get the thank you after review, we'll send you a letter. If you get that, you're pretty much sailing in the clear, in my opinion. If you start getting, can you provide us with this documentation? Can you provide us with that documentation? That's where you got them investigating. Okay, that's when you need to get an attorney involved. Because I've talked to several attorneys before I've drafted this letter, and what I was told is don't give them any evidence, don't give them a chain of events, don't give them any dates, don't give them times, don't give them your evidence, because they will build a case based on what you didn't provide them. Julia, you want to know the truth? I disclose that information to a judge in a court of law. In other words, you're going to have to file a lawsuit against me and then demand it in the interrogatory process, also known as discovery. There's only so much information I've fed them. And I've already told them once in writing, you do understand that the gate that's in question is still erect on the premises today. Because I asked, how much of that money does the tenant actually get to keep, the applicant? What we need to start understanding is they're baiting us to see if we'll pay the $10,000. Because they changed their name, are they now allowed to do that? The tenant wants $10,000 and an apology from the property manager to settle out of court or to resolve this issue. Hello? What issue? She canceled the agreement because the tenant never did sign the holding deposit agreement. She didn't sign nothing and didn't have all the money. So after 30 days of waiting for the third party program that didn't pay the other half, she canceled it. Paying attention? I'm going to tell you, if they ask you, you need to start talking to an attorney. If they start asking you for documents to prove yourself, you need to start talking to an attorney. No joke. And that is across the board. Can I go ahead and rent while this is going? Actually, I canceled her move-in after 30 days. My written criteria says I only had to give her 3. I went above and beyond for the third party at Hello. And now going forward, we're most likely not going to be accepting third party payments at inception. At inception, write that down. We do not accept third-party payments at inception unless it is a federally funded program. Why do I say that? Because you have to. Federally funded is Section 8 and VASH. You have to do that. You're required by law to. Oh, hold on. I think I just saw a squirrel in my own brain. this office does not accept third-party payments unless required by law. That might be the verbiage. All right. Let me see what questions you guys have. Nobody really bombarded me with questions, so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Yes, we canceled the application because funds weren't received in their entirety as per our criteria. And because a third party was involved, we gave additional time. Going forward, we may say something like third-party payments are only accepted by federally funded programs. But I can't do that if they're already in possession. Damn it. There's some verbiage there that needs to be worked out, you guys. And you see how I try to figure that out? And then once I think I got it, I have to call 5 attorneys, because ask 3 of them the same question, you get 3 different answers. Ask 5 the same question, you still get 3 different answers. But now at least you got 2 people that agree with 2 other people. Make sense? You have to answer shop when you're talking to an attorney, because you will get different answers from most of them. I'll leave my statement at that. So then when I'm done answer shopping with legal and getting that all dialed in, I go back to fair housing and ask them to help assist, because that's what they're there for, you guys. They're there to help you. You as a landlord can call fair housing and ask questions. Didn't know you could do that? You sure can. I like to keep friends with the enemy, okay? What do they say? Keep your enemy close, or keep your keep your enemies closer than your friends.
Patty, on that note, you said you can call Fair Housing or whatever their new name is. I've done that and they don't answer. How do you get through? So, because they want you to, like, you have to leave a voicemail with all of your information before they give you a call back. And I kind of just want to ask a general question and not leave my information. So, what do you do?
There's a reason why they want all that information. Okay, just so you know. And you have to leave them a message with all that information, because they are now putting that in the database that this person is calling with this question at this time. It becomes part of the database.
So that makes it come across like it's almost not worth even asking the question, because I don't want to give them more ammo like against me. You know what I mean?
Julia,
Mhm.
give them Fred's address down the street. Call them anyway and ask them your damn question.
Okay.
They don't know where you own. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I understood what you were saying as it was coming out of your mouth. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you kind of want to throw up a little bit of a smoke screen there. Hi, I'm a landlord. I have a general question. Okay, what's your address? Well, my address is 1425 West Pennsylvania Avenue. Is nobody laughing right now? That's the address of the White House. Sorry. I probably got the street numbers wrong, and I'm going to guess that it's going to be David, is going to go, Patty, no, you got the numbers wrong. Because it's not 1425. I am the worst liar. I'm going to use that address next time. Honey, and when somebody asks you for your address and you don't want to give it to them, that is the first address that comes to my mind. Okay. And thank you guys all for it's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. See, I knew somebody was going to call me out on it. Somebody knew. 1425 is the address of my first is of my first God, why can I not even think of what I want to say? Major corporation property management company I worked for. Sometimes these addresses just get stuck in my head and they come out at various times and they're not the right one. But you understood what I meant, right? Also, a lot of times when people ask me for a phone number, I'll give them a phone number to an ex. I'm evil. There's also a funny phone number you can get saying this person really doesn't want to talk to you. And it's one of those, like if you call it, it goes, this person gave you this phone number as a joke because they really didn't want to talk to you. So there's actually recorded lines out there for each area code for that. And you can find one of those online and give them that phone number. Just memorize it. It comes across much better when you flip it out of your mouth. And yes, I have done that. Oh, you're so beautiful. Can I get your number? And you just rattle that off. This person doesn't want to give you their real phone number, so they gave you this number instead. Kind of their own way to tell you no thanks. You guys aren't even laughing. Come on, I use this dating. It's fun. You get my number, fool. Sorry, I'm being funny, you guys. I'm totally trying to be funny. It's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and you like 1425 better.
Hi, Patty. I have a question. I have an apartment with closed private patio with a cat door. Am I allowed to close the cat door due to unsanitary conditions? Because when they go to school to work, the cat gets there and then it takes time for them to clean it up.
Well, no, they put in a pet door because they have a pet and they need to be able to go out in their yard. Is it their own yard that the pet is pooping in?
It's patio. Yes, it's a private patio. It's their own patio.
And the cat's basically using the litter box on the patio?
When they're not home, yes.
It's ingenious, to be honest with you. If you own a cat, it's a great way to not have the litter box smell in your house. But I get it for you. Now you have the litter box smell outside, right?
And the flies, right.
So just let them know that it's creating a sanitary issue with the flies and the odor being outdoors.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Different way to say it, fixing the actual problem. Sanitary with flies, it's attracting, the feces is attracting flies and could be considered unsanitary with this odor.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Or offensive odor to neighboring residents. All right, anybody else? Oh, here we go. In regard to the new laws. Yes, we have new laws in effect for 2025. When did those pass? They all go in effect January 1st, and they pass at various times during the year. No, some of these we did not get to vote on. You only have to report positive rent payments to credit bureaus for existing tenants or new tenants coming in if you have 15 units or more. So it applies to multifamily owners.
I thought it was only new tenants, Patty.
They're going to make it so it's existing also because the existing tenants are going to bitch that they can't do that. It's not fair. Think about it. But it's for owners that own 15 units or more. It's okay, Julia. I'm here to talk you guys off the fence. So if you own a multifamily complex that has an on-site manager or is just under having an on-site manager, you are most likely going to have to report for new incoming tenants as well as existing tenants their rental positive rent payment history. They're not going to allow you to post negative rental history. And everybody's like, that's garbage. That's one-sided. That's bullshit. No, you can only report positive rental history, not the negative. So if you look at someone's credit report and they've been a tenant and they have some positive history from a year ago and then no positive history, it's because they don't have any positive rental history. Got it? Does that make sense to you? So at the same time, they're making us pave this road for the tenants. If you're looking at a tenant's application and you can see that they have good rental history, you now know they have good rental history. If you see that they don't have good rental history because there's nothing on there, I'd be questioning whether or not they've been evicted recently. Oh, what they can use to hold our foot to the fire, we're going to find a way to use it against them. Tenant pays for it, I believe. Correct, Arlene? Up to $10 monthly.
Yeah, correct.
Tenant pays
But-
for it. It's $10 a month.
Right, but apparently there's nothing in the law stating that you can't report negative.
There it says positive rental payments.
Right, but it doesn't say.
Okay, so
on another-
let me say it a different way to you guys, okay? A tenant isn't going to pay you $10 a month to report negative. Does this make sense yet? They may be building a way for us to tell whether a tenant isn't a rent paying tenant or not. You understand? Does that make sense to you?
And if they opt out, they can't come back in for 6 months.
Why would a tenant opt out?
Because they're not paying.
It may be sending us a message we want to know about. Okay. I know it's upsetting to you guys because you guys are like, wait a minute. I now have to find a credit reporting agency, report they're good paying. They're paying you. It's $10 a month. Yes. And you got to go, yes, they paid me this month. Yes, they paid me this month. But now when you run Seymour's credit that just applied and he doesn't have that on there, you're going to ask him, hey, how come you're not paying $10 a month to have this reported on your credit? You already know the answer, right? Makes sense? What they're building for us may sound like a crazy pain in the butt, but let me tell you something. The other side of the fence tells us the story. So we want to participate in that. I mean, look at it this way, okay? If you now can run a credit report and see that they've paid their last 18 months of rent to their previous landlord on time and it's good credit reporting, isn't that going to help you make your decision to rent to them? If you're looking across those months and there's a month or two that are missing in there, are you going to assume that they were late? Ha. Ha. Oh. Now I see, grasshopper. If they started on that 18 months ago, did it for 3 months and haven't done it since then, what is that telling you?
Can you add to your criteria that you require that they participate or have participated?
It's only for certain tenancies, correct? Low income housing? Or did they change? It's always been for low income housing. Now they're making it for all tenants, correct?
I think it's January to March. You have to report by April 1st. And then if the tenancy after July has to be reported. I don't think they said anything about income. I think it's everybody.
So it's everybody, but the tenant has to pay for it. And it's not everybody because it's 15 units or more.
Correct.
So who is that attacking? You guys tell me.
Corporate.
Bingo.
Corporate.
Bingo. It's going to hit corporate America that's providing low income housing or the like. It is most likely not going to affect many of us. And I thought the biggest argument I was going to get is going to be on the new law regarding security deposits and photos. You must have photos at move in and at move out in order to charge them on their security deposit disposition. Has to have move in and move out photos. And photos
And once the work is done,
and
a
photos of
file.
the repair. Yep. And photos that the repair was complete. Okay. With that said, for those of us that are managing property for profit and we're taking on a property that's tenant occupied, it needs to now be a part of your new client packet to make sure that you're asking them for move-in photos. If they don't have them, you need to be disclosing to them that they're not going to be able to charge at move out. See how that worked? And you are now processing applications first come, first serve. It is the law. If you do not take them first come, first serve, you cannot charge an application fee. Youch. Any more questions? See how I try to focus on the laws that really affect us and not so much on the ones that don't? You guys don't panic on me, okay? I'm watching those things too. Anybody have any other questions? Everybody's aware of fair housing and that they've changed their name now. And they were all about equal, fairness, equal rights, fairness. And now they're just called the Civil Rights Department. Okay, I was going to explain to you. Anybody that files a fair housing complaint, okay, after 1 year, that complaint gets turned into a HUD-1 lawsuit or gets dismissed out of the system. But they have to make that decision at the 1 year mark. That's why usually when you write a response letter to fair housing, Civil Rights Department, you don't get the response that they're not going to pursue you for a year. Don't let that irritate you. If they're interested and they think there's something there, they're going to be at you for providing more documentation, more information. They're coming at you asking you to provide more stuff. That's when your attorney gets involved. Or have them write the response letter. But I mean, how much money does my client have to spend to prove that they're right? Sure in the hell not $10,000. And they did not answer my question of how much of that the applicant gets to keep. And that is not fair that they get to offer a settlement to not pursue this. She never signed the holding deposit agreement. She never did anything that she was required to do and lost my owner 30 days of time trying to be nice, trying to work with her. Make rules for a reason, stick to the rules, don't deviate.
Patty, on that person that caused all this chaos, you know how they threatened
Just
the
deposit the check already, or I'm going to make this difficult on you.
Let's say, and after she called her a B, let's say she did come back, let's say 2 days later, and she did have the other half. You're telling me we would still have to accept it because she was quote unquote first, or, you know, you have to take applicants first come, first served. So we would still.
Approved. She was approved.
So even with all of that threat, the name calling, still have to take.
No, at that particular time, I would start having my legal counsel say we're counseling because of the verbal abuse coming out of her mouth. But I'm now writing a letter saying that we're not going to continue to enter into this relationship or go forward any further because she still hasn't signed the holding deposit agreement. The second she signs the holding deposit agreement, I have 3 days to renege. In that 3 days, I'm reneging. Love you.
Thank you for that. So then we do have a way out if somebody is verbally threatening or I guess, inappropriate or just not?
Yes, there's all kinds of ways that we deal with it from a legal standpoint. One of the things that I've done is ask the tenant that they can no longer communicate with us in person, that we need all of their communications in writing via email, that they're not allowed to call us on the phone nor communicate with us verbally, that they can only communicate in email. Well, now everything that's coming in, you have what? In writing. So all those threats and all that crap talking, you're getting in writing. Okay. So it just helps you build a case better. Does that make sense? But there are things that we could do. I have given them a notice of change of terms, telling them that they are no longer able to communicate with my staff or myself verbally or on the telephone, that they needed to do it all in writing, and the email addresses were attached for their convenience. So there are different things that you can do during a tenancy to stop the verbal abuse that's coming. And you can eventually evict them for it.
Okay, got it. I just
Do you know
with an
why?
why?
Because it affects the right to quiet enjoyment for neighboring residents.
Okay, got it. So even with a prospect or an applicant, if you don't want to move forward with them because of some sort of verbal
Well, here's
encounter.
what I could tell you. Remember the money? The money has a lot to do with it. If you accept money, you're agreeing to rent to them right then and there. Doesn't matter how much. Okay? So remember that. That's why I always tell you guys, do not pre-sign a lease. The lease you want to sign, the day they're moving in, you're handing them the keys and you have all the money. That's when they're signing the lease. Okay? Once they're approved, you want them to sign a holding deposit agreement. Okay? Because look at it this way. If they cancel their lease before it's supposed to start, let me give you guys an example. Got a tenant moving in January 3rd. Okay? Tenant loses job, doesn't want to move in on January 3rd, but he pre-signed the lease saying that he's going to move in on January 3rd. We don't have any other documents signed by him except a lease. How much money does he owe you? Anybody?
Nothing.
He canceled the contract before it started. Does he legally owe you anything? No, he
No.
doesn't. He doesn't owe you a damn dime.
But
Wrap
if he
your head
signed
around
a
that.
did a holding agreement, he owes you a per diem.
Yes, exactly. If he signs a holding deposit agreement, from the day he signs that agreement to the day he backs out in writing, he owes you daily rent. You're welcome. That's the difference between a holding deposit agreement and pre-signing a lease. Also, here's the next problem. Sometimes we pre-sign a lease because the tenant says they're going to be out on the 25th and we have a new person moving in on the 1st. 5-day cushion there. We got plenty of room. They're pre-signing a lease. They're going to move in. Person moving out says, I'm going to be 3 more weeks. My moving company failed me. Now, you have a pre-signed lease with this new moving incoming tenant. What do you have to do, Arlene?
Put them up until the other place is available.
You got to put them in a hotel. You got to provide them reasonable accommodations. So that's cleaning their clothes, buying their food, and putting them in a hotel. Pre-signing a lease is a bad business practice. It does not help you. It does not protect you. It does not lock the tenant into anything. Got it? A holding deposit agreement is what says that you can charge them per diem. And then in the event that you have to back out of that holding deposit agreement, you have a loophole.
Can you clarify something, Patty? But
Yes.
aren't you, when you're having them sign that, aren't you taking some funds, a few $100s or something?
You could be you're now agreeing to rent to them, correct? But you haven't pre-signed a lease, so you don't have an obligation. There's some wiggle room you can get. Yeah. I'll leave my statement at that. How about I say it a different way? I know of some attorneys that will help you argue of why you needed to cancel that prior to. So there is a way, okay? But it's tricky and you got to be careful. In the meantime, what did we learn about fair housing today, everybody?
Not fair housing anymore.
Correct. And if somebody asks for a request in reasonable accommodations, does it have to be in writing? No, they can do it verbally. And if she wants to argue and say, we never installed the gate, we would have given her permission, but we wouldn't install the gate. She would do that as a request for a modification at her expense. That's what I mean. If I got this one, you know what I mean? This is so far in left field, but are they going to bite? Is this fair anymore? What's going on? I hope you guys appreciate that we're trying with our response letter, because they didn't make an announcement that they were changing their name or why, or are we losing services? Are we losing protections? Where is this fair? Where is this equal? It sucks. All right, everybody. Unless anybody has anything else, I am going to get off of here. I got a long drive in front of me. I got to go to Isabella. I'm out.
Safe journey. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Drive
Thank you.
carefully.
Thank you. I will. I will. Everybody, if you need me, feel free to give me a call and we'll be in contact. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for the info, Patty.
Bye. We'll see you next week.